Welcome to the lesson 7. So we have discussed about the acts and the administrative reforms point wise, like what were the names for that. Now we are going to discuss each one of the acts and reforms through this session. Okay, so we have discussed about Government of India Act of 1858. Now we are going to discuss about Indian Council Act of 1868. Okay, so Indian Council Act of 1861. What was that? And these are the important things. It is not I'm teaching you from anywhere else. These are the key things that you have to remember, and you can frame an answer through this. Okay. So Indian Council Act. So this act marked as an important landmark in the constitutional history of India, and through this act, the power of the crown were to be exercised by the Secretary of State for India. So what I have discussed in the Government of India Act, like they have decided to take a control of the East India Company, assume the sovereignty over the East India Company. Now it should be written somewhere else. So now through this Indian Council Act, like now they have a constitutional provision, like where Crown will exercise this power through the Secretary of State for India, which will be assisted by a council of 15 members, known as Council of India. We have already discussed, and these things became the legal provisions. Whatever discussed in the Government of India Act 1858, they became the legal provisions under the Indian Council Act of 1861. Okay, so the Secretary of State, who was responsible for the British Parliament, governed India through the Governor General, assisted by an executive council. Okay, those things we have already discussed, and whatever we discussed, those things become a legal provision under this act. Okay, another important point: this act enabled the Governor General to associate representatives of the Indian people with the work of legislation by nominating them to expanded council. So now the Governor General will have the power. Now the Governor General can enable can ask Indian people as a representative, okay, for the work of the legislation, So like it is like it was happening, like whatever the laws, whatever the things were going to be made, will include Indian people also into that. They don't have any power, but will include them before making that, so that we'll have an idea what things are there going into their mind, what are the things that is going into their mind, so that this revolt of 1857 will not be reported within them, because within the 1857 revolt, many sepoy mutiny happened within the British team. So your team member is not listening to the manager, so what you can do, you don't have any power then. Okay, that's why they started to include Indian people also into the legislation of the country. This act provided that Governor General's Executive Council should include certain additional non-official member also while transacting legislative business as a legislative council, but this legislative council was neither representative nor deliberative in any sense. What does it mean? It means like whoever the Indian you are going to include, they will be non-official, and they will not have any power, under the legislative council. Okay, now Another important point, it decentralized the legislative power of the Governor General Council and vested them in the government of Bombay and Madras. What happened? What through this act happened? It decentralized the legislative power. It decentralized the legislative power of the Governor General Council. Okay, and vested them in the government of government of Bombay and Madras. They can exercise it with the help of Indian people as well. Okay, yeah, that's it for this lecture. Thank you. We'll meet into the lesson 7, where we'll discuss about the Indian Council Act 1892 and Model Minto reforms and the Indian Council Act of 1909. Thank you.